and I hope so you will all really be present. And the main thrust is that how are we going to collaborate into this network? That part of which Sister Meera will be leading in. So before that, I just wanted to introduce to you the very concept of human trafficking. So how many of you have heard of the concept called human trafficking? Heard of it? So you know the social cause that the word brings to the thing. All of you might have been aware of it. So nothing very great thing I am going to tell you. Maybe some misconceptions that we have will be cleared out by this introductory session, and after that followed by how the network is working in India and abroad as well as around the globe that Sister Meera will be explaining to you. So this is the human trafficking is an open wound on a barrier of contemporary society, a scourge upon the body of Christ. Francis spoke about human trafficking. So since the recent years, church is giving very big thrust on this social evil, because the very fact that human trafficking is growing in rampant speed, it's growing, human trafficking. But as a church, as a religious, what are we doing is very small amount. So now we are coming to an awareness of we need to do more. That's the reason now we are planning to meet a lot of religious, and first of all to give awareness to the religious, and then from there we have to move to the people. So we will have some myths that we have, and then how it has to be dealt with. So we always think it is always unruly or a violent crime. So mostly people think abduction is human trafficking. No, not necessarily always abduction is involved in human trafficking. Human trafficking is in reality, most human traffickers use psychological ways. So morning we heard a lot of psychological games that happens within a person, between persons, within relationships, all that. So that psychological means like tricking and defrauding, manipulating and threatening victims into providing commercial sex or exploitative labor. As for India, we have these two major issues like forced labor or exploitative labor, as well as human trafficking for sexual exploitations. And then we have another myth: human trafficking only happens in illegal or underground industries. It doesn't come to the surface. We don't see it happening right in front of us. Especially if you see a young boy, a child is being employed, you can get to see. A child labor, you can visibly see. But we think human trafficking doesn't get to see. We don't see it in a naked eyes happening here. But that is not true. Human trafficking cases have been reported and prosecuted in industries including restaurants, cleaning and services, construction, factories and more. Wherever we get to meet people face to face, everywhere human trafficking is happening. Might be we are so silent to that reality, or we give a blind eyes to these realities. That's the reason we are not able to see. And then next one is only women and girls can be victims and survivors of sex trafficking. We think only women can be trafficked for sex trafficking, but that's not true. There are a number of cases of male, young men and elderly men, including boys, children, have been trafficked for sex trafficking. So these are the myths we need to break before understanding why we need to work for it. So all commercial sex is human trafficking. So this is another understanding. Anybody is being a victim of human trafficking, that person is taken for a sex trafficking. No, that's not the reality. The thing is, we have all commercial sex involving a minor is illegally considered human trafficking. So, if a human trafficking for the sake of sex trafficking happens, not necessarily all go willingly for sex trafficking. So, if a child even goes willingly, according to the law, it becomes a sex trafficking or a human trafficking, because the child's consent is immaterial. According to law, if a child is subjected to sexual assault or a sexual, commercial sex work, and then despite the age, despite the consent, despite the approval of the child, that will be considered as illegal because of the age of the child. And then if a person or the adult is willing to go for a sex work, also against the will or against their complete consent of the heart, maybe it can be force or a fraud, or it can be a coercion, or it can be a threat, then it will become a human trafficking. Then traffickers target victims they do not know. This is a very large misconception. So we always tell, don't believe people who are strangers. Don't believe people who are unknown to you. This is what we tell children also. But most cases the human trafficking happens between the known persons. The persons are well known to them, they are well acquainted to them, and they are sometimes their own family members, their own relatives, their own friends can be the traffickers. So these are the myths that is related to human trafficking. We might be tend to propagate these ideas, these myths. Whereas when we propagate these ideas and the myths, then we will fail the meaning of human trafficking. So according to the UN, this is the definition is given in a nutshell. The human trafficking is all this: the acts of recruitment, transport, transfer, harboring of persons, or receipt of persons. All these are human trafficking. With the means of a threat, use of force, coercion, abduction, fraud, deception, abuse of power. This also is included. Abuse of power. In a sense, if I am a superior to them, I am something big to them, or I am having a big positions and I use my power to send some person to one place to another place, that also becomes human trafficking. Then giving of payments or benefits, false promises, even sometimes you pay them little bit and tell the person to go from one place to another place and work out of force, that also becomes a human trafficking with the sole purpose of exploitation. The exploitation is the main thrust in that. So if a person is recruited through all these means for exploitation, that is human trafficking. If a person is received with all these means or one of these means for the purpose of for the exploitation, or exploitations are listed there, like including the prostitution, sexual exploration, and then forced labor, slavery, and removal of organs. All other types are included also. Okay, so if these all three are there, then it becomes a human trafficking. So not necessarily abduction means human trafficking. Not necessarily all abduction is human trafficking, and human trafficking need not necessarily have to have abduction. But if you have acts of all recruitment, transport, transfer, harboring, and with all these means or one of these means for the exploitation, that becomes a human trafficking. So all these three should be there to prove a case as a human trafficking case. Otherwise, if one of these is missing, then that is not a human trafficking case. Very especially the last proponent should be there, the purpose, that is exploitation. So exploitation shouldn't happen for a person. It can be monetary exploitation, it can be emotional exploitation, it can be physical exploitation, any of this sort exploitation is involved, then it becomes a human trafficking. So we have like the most potential human risking areas, like areas where we find human trafficking. Human trafficking is like agriculture area, agriculture, animal husbandry, bricklings, wherever it is touching the soil. Okay, so we think these are the very heart of the business for India. So where our economy starts from there, agriculture. But those are the areas we have a lot of labor trafficking happening. Okay, people in mass migrations, people come down to south, and from south to other areas they migrate for all these agriculture purposes and husbandry and fishing, all those areas, because of the labor trafficking is present there. Then domestic service. Okay, all of us in the convents, in our communities, we have domestic service. We have in our schools and colleges, sometimes we have agencies provide domestic workers. So where there also can be the servitude will be present, forced labor will be present, exploitation is also present in monetary exploitation, sometimes even physical and the person-related exploitations. Then we have construction site where the labor trafficking and forced migration is present. Then we have factories and industries, of course labor trafficking is there. Then tourism and hospitality sector, we have clubs, bars, casinos, massage parlors. I don't know, this may not be so evident in Trichy, but in Pondicherry and other areas, metropolitan cities is very in a rampant it's growing, the industry, these industries of hospitality. We have massage parlors, we have casinos, we have a lot of bars and clubs. All these things are growing in numbers. Probably it will be in Trichy as well, may not be seen very well visibly, but they are not there in the corners. And then we have also health and beauty salons. This is another industry, sisters. We need to really watch out the growing number of fertility clinics. So that's another thing. Health and beauty salons, like a forced surrogacy is there. Organ donation, organ theft is there. So these are also areas of human trafficking. So we can never say we don't see human trafficking happening, because we are in the agriculture sector, we are in the tourism sector, we are seeing a health and we see hospitals, we see the beauty salons, we see hotels and restaurants. So in hotels and restaurants we find human trafficking due to sex trafficking and pornography. It's a huge industry. The women also disappear. They end up ultimately in the pornographic sector, where women will be forced into pornography and they have to act as actresses whatsoever, and they will be fully on the pornographic sites. So this is most of the women who are in the pornographic sites are victims of human trafficking. Their whereabouts will never come out as well. They are in the already hidden underground. They will disappear slowly. Eventually they will disappear as well. Then we have digital marketing. In the digital marketing, people are being trafficked into this kind of industries and companies, and they will not be let out. They have to work as cheaters, scammers. They are forced as scammers. So we have a digital marketing. Then we have estates and gardens. So we had last month we had we washed into some of the estates near Kodaikanal. Some of you might be coming from that side. We have lots of estates are there. So we marched inside in a pretext of a medical camp. So when we went there, hundreds and thousands of labor traffic victims are there. Either they are trafficked or they are migrants willingly, but we will not be able to talk to them. They are kept in such a constrained situations. We will not be able to meet them personally without the help of a middleman. And most of them are children below 18 years. They are working there, but they don't tell you they are below 18. They will tell you always my age is 19 and 18. They will look like very small children. You can make out they are not really adults, but surely they will be forced to tell that they are 18. And a lot of child labor situation is there inside the estates, but it will not come out. They are not let out of their own campuses. So like that we have plenty of areas where human trafficking is very, very highly prevalent. So we already saw this. This is actually some of the statistics we got it from the UN. Current in a sense, it's 2022's thing. So you will find that 38.8% forced labor and sexual exploitation. Equally, these both are the trending realities why human trafficking occurs. There are other areas like forced marriage, baby selling, removal of organs. All this is happening, but not very widely reported. That's the reason that that's been hidden from the statistics. So we have vulnerabilities like labor trafficking. Why labor trafficking happens? Because we have recent migrations, relocations, mass migrations. Nowadays we don't find any familiars inside Tamil Nadu. The same if you go to Maharashtra, we don't find any Buthiwalas there. We only find the Tamils there side. So mass migrations are happening across India. So what happens due to that? What happens with the vulnerability is because when people come here and settle down, they have to go through all kinds of accommodations issues. So when, as a part of accommodation issues, they tend to be victims of human trafficking. Then we have self-reported economic hardships. Okay, there's another reason. People are not happy with their own surroundings. They're always happy. They think the other side is green. So let me just try the livelihood the other side. So people tend to move. Then we have unstable housing is there. People are staying on the roads. They are sleeping on the roads. They are keeping their families on the roads. That's another reason they can become very open victims of, vulnerable victims of human trafficking. Then we have criminal records and criminal history. Suppose a person is having criminal records inside his locality, he will not be able to find his livelihood, so he has to move to the other sides. Then we have substance use concerns. That's another reason for labor trafficking. And then we have vulnerabilities for sex trafficking. Of course, again, the thing is a person is dependent on substance, drinks and alcohol and drugs, and the person have a tendency or a possibility to fall into sex trafficking. Then we have runaways and homeless. So if you sisters and fathers, if you think of few years back, 100 years back, we had all of us, every congregation had runaway homes. Nowadays we don't have runaway homes. Where are these runaways ended up? Don't they children again run away from their homes? Are they running away or they have stopped running away? It's not that they have stopped running away, but the runaways are being captured somewhere else. They don't land up to us anymore. They are not in the good hands, but they are in the bad hands. So a lot of children, those who are running away from homes, they end up with the human trafficking sector. They end up with the sex trafficking areas. The next one is unstable housing. That's already saw it. The mental health concerns. Father in the morning spoke very good variety of mental health concerns among the religious. If so far as this much complicated mental health situation is there, what about the families? So they have the very strong potentiality to fall into the vulnerability group. Then we have a recent migrations and relocations and the reason for sex trafficking. So we have a short UN reports today. Approximately 2.9 million people are living in a modern slavery. So human trafficking is also termed as a modern slavery, and including forced labor and trafficking. And then roughly 21 million are forced laborers and 4 million are forced sexual exploitation, 4.5 million. And then 2022, 69,627 victims were detected worldwide. This is only detected and then cases have been dealt with. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of cases are not reported yet. They are still in the clutches of human trafficking, which is not coming to the limelight at all. And then we have demographic with girls and women and children. Of course, we have a huge variety of women and children. And then we have adult women, 39% of adult women. And then equally, more or less, equally 23% of men are also victims of human trafficking. Then we have girls and as well as boys. So this is okay. We see in this, we have a human sex trafficking for trafficking for sexual exploitation and trafficking for forced labor. This stands out among all causes from the statistics. So we have a stringent laws. Okay, when it comes to Indian laws, we have very stringent laws against human trafficking. But still human trafficking is happening because cases are not reported. What happens when there is a stringent laws, but still there are loopholes? The loopholes always prevail, and then laws will not really put in and really serve for its best. So what happens is in Indian law we have constitutional. Okay, we have a constitutional law like Indian Constitution Article 23 prohibits trafficking in persons, and then we have violation of this offensible under the law. And then we have this Indian Penal Code, some renamed into BNS in 2024. So we have a section 370, 370A and 372, 366, 374. All these sections prohibit human trafficking in different sectors. Okay, different various like one is for minor girls and sexual exploitation, one is for compulsory labor. So for everything we have a punishment of 7 years of imprisonment depending on nature and the number of victims. Okay, if one person is victimized by a person, then person serves 7. For a number of group of people, then they serve in a 7 plus 7 or a life imprisonment 14 years, all that is there. But whether it happens in reality, that's a very big question mark. And then we have also ITPA. ITPA covers a very large areas of sex trafficking. And then we have covers brothels, running brothels and procuring persons for prostitution, living on the earnings of the prostitution, and it's kind of protecting the commercial sex workers. These are the laws. And this also promises 3 to 7 years of imprisonment and fine. And then we have other laws like a protection of child from sexual offences, POCSO Act, and we have a Bonded Labour Act, and we have a care and protection for child, Juvenile Justice Act. All these acts also prohibit human trafficking. So despite that, why we are not able to stop human trafficking in India is because human trafficking is like a web. So the web is being held very tightly by all these people. We have spotters, we have recruiters, we have buyers, sellers, transporters, harbors, finders, like financiers and the brothel keepers and pimps and clients. So it's a huge network. Actually, it's a very well organized crime. It's internationally organized crime and nationally is very well organized crime. Even locally it is very well organized crime. So these many people are holding a net. So only laws alone will not be able to help to break this very big, huge network. That's the reason the laws fail. So what we are supposed to do? Okay. So if we think of this 4 P's and 2 R's, this is the method or this is a strategy with which we have to break the whole network of human trafficking. Like we have a prevention, so we have to work in the prevention level for human trafficking. That's what AMRAT is aiming to do, and most part of India, sisters are involved in the prevention works. And then we have protection of victims. In a sense, rescue also is a part of the protection. Then protection of the victims, then we have prosecution. So prosecution, once you rescue the victims, we have to punish the offenders. Then it becomes a prosecution as a part of it. Then next one is a partnership. It cannot be done by one person. So if I go alone, go and rescue a person, that doesn't work that way. It will not work, and then I will be risking my own life, but I will not be able to avenge the perpetrators, or will be able to protect the victim. So what happens? A lot of partnership or networking between national coordination, international cooperations. This is all needed for them. And then last 2 R's are restoration and reintegration. This is in the terms of victims. So we need to restore them back into their families or back into their society, and we have to reintegrate them back into their rhythm of life. Say if a person is a victim of human trafficking, they were in sex trafficking for years, and getting them back into the channel of a regular life is very, very hard. So we need to go through a lot of counseling is needed, a lot of ongoing accompaniment is needed. So this is a part of reintegration. So this is the approach AMRAT, in a sense, that the whole network of Talita International is following. From prevention level to the reintegration level we work. Okay. So the next one is this is a small glimpse of how we need to rescue. So if a rescue happens, suppose you might wonder, this all is said to us, what are we going to do? So what are we asking of you is this part of it, the partnership. The partnership. You need not work, you cannot be entering into the prevention level and giving awareness. Quite good. It's okay. You cannot be reintegrating a person. You are not going to rescue a person. It's quite good. But in what way we can every individual can participate in the partnership. You can always give your partnership in ways of identifying a victim. Suppose if you come across a victim, you do not know what to do. You can always think of calling any one of us from AMRAT and say, so and so, I just witnessed somewhere something is happening. I think this is an exploitation because I came across these are the things that are pertaining to the individual is happening or to a group it is happening. Probably this is the case. You can just report to any of us, or you can give an awareness to a person and stop the person. So in that way you can think of partnership. That's the reason we are telling you these things. And then in this process, I wanted just to give you a glimpse of how our rescue is done. In case of human trafficking, a traffic victim is there. I cannot go as a person, as a selling individual and say, come, I am rescuing you. I cannot take by hand and come out. That doesn't happen that way. Suppose if you find a person is there, exploited, or you know the person is trafficked, then the matter directly goes, it has to be complained to a district administrator. The district administrator appoints a team of people to rescue the person. This is how normally, naturally, by law, the things have to move. But what happens when the rescue happens? Anyone can file a complaint. If I am a so-and-so nobody in the society, I can witness a human trafficking situation there. A woman is being forced into human trafficking, sex work against her will. A child is being held there as a bonded labor. But still I can file a complaint. So when I file a complaint, if you are the one going to file a complaint, you can see all these things that are happening or not. That's the reason I am just giving you a glimpse of it. So FIR should be mandatorily be filed. Okay. No police and no person who will say that I will not file a FIR. They are not supposed to say. If a person says that, the ITPA even punishes the official who says they will not file the FIR. So what happens? It has to be filed. Then 164 statement is not mandatory. The 164 statement is like the victim have to be interviewed in the crime area. That is the 164 statement. That's not mandatory. In a sense, the victim is not supposed to be made to talk in the situation. So if you are rescuing a person in the brothel, in front of the brothel lady, the madam, and the gundas, and the whole situation, that lady is not supposed to give you a statement. So 164 statement is not necessary, and still you can file a case. Then that's the unit. I said AHT unit functions as a special investigation unit. So the committee that has been appointed from the anti-human trafficking unit, they are the special investigators. So the whole weightage. So actually what happens is, Indian law is in such a way, if you are under arrest, you have to prove you are not guilty. So when it comes to a human trafficking case, it's not the duty of the victim to prove that person is not guilty or the person is being forced. It's the duty of the AHT unit to prove that the person is not guilty or the person is being held up there. Okay? So that's their work. They have to do the investigations. Then we have the charge sheet that have to be scrutinized by the prosecutor, and testimony of the victim can be done through video conferencing. Not necessarily even if the victim to be presented in the court. If a person is not willing, they can be given a chance to give a statement in the video conferencing. Then with that victim compensation, this is another huge part of the human trafficking case. They are liable for the compensation, and the state is supposed to pay to the compensation. So these are things we can make be aware of, so that we can give a kind of hope to the person. It's okay, you can be a victim, but still you can get out of it and you can claim compensation. Nothing will be hindering you. You can be free. So that kind of thing will be given. So at the end, just want to ask you the thing of Pope Francis. The world stands in need of concrete signs of solidarity, especially as it is faced with the temptations to indifference. Okay, this is what Pope says in the we have social teachings of human trafficking by Pope Francis. In that we will have he challenges directly. So we have to think, what is our response? Are we going to be simply sitting there and say that something is happening somewhere, it's not my duty? Or are we going to say, so this is what the Pope gives a response. Now the Catholic Church intends to intervene in every phase of human trafficking. She wants to protect them from deception and solicitation. She wants to find them and free them. So this is a protection of the victim. And then they are transported and rescued to slavery. She wants to assist them once they are freed. This is restoration and reintegration. So Pope Francis speaks the whole crust in one sentence. Beautifully he says, she wants to be part of everything. From prevention to reintegration, Church wants to be part of it. We are the Church. And then we have a moral responsibility to respond to this dangerous, very heinous crime that is happening to our society. The very grievous wound of Jesus Christ, the body of Christ is happening to every body suffering. There is a body of Christ. So we need to be responsive to that. So with that note, what I tell you is, what we can do is be aware of it first thing, then create awareness to others, families, communities, schools, children, hospitals, your co-workers, everybody. Create an awareness to them about human trafficking, and do away with obsessive social norms. If we are having in a convent obsessive practices like ill-treating workers, wanting the servants, and then 12 hours of work for the servants in the house, any forms of oppressive system we have to do away with that first ourselves. Then we have to challenge society. Then we have to volunteer or intern to go with similar work groups like AMRAT. In whatever way we can collaborate. Then be active bystanders against violence, like peer-to-peer education, talk to one another and help them. Then create a anti-human trafficking class in the schools and colleges, and create digital awareness to families, friends and communities. And then use toll-free numbers as much as possible. At least call 100. How many of you can say that I have called 100 for many times? Anybody, put up your hands. I have called many times. Or one time at least I have called 100. Not one of us. So this also shows it's not necessarily for me. It is for somebody else, you can always call 100. We have 100 is the toll-free numbers for children we have 1098. So these are toll-free numbers. Use as much as possible for helping somebody else. With that note, I will just pass on to Sister Meera. She will explain to us how as AMRAT, how are we coordinated and how are we working different congregations as one platform to work for this one particular goal, combating human trafficking. Thank you so much.